Good evening, soldiers. Welcome back to Clive as Jericho. Last episode, we did some stuff and some things, and I just realized I'm probably going to cut that first episode into two parts, so this is going to be a rather awkward introduction. But anyhow, before we continue today, I figured we'll get our handy-dandy, oh so useful, instruction manual, and read about the characters. So, as of right now, we are possessing Sergeant Frank Delgado. Sergeant Frank Delgado is...
What's the plan, guys?
Hold your horses. Is of Mestizo and Chickshaw descent. His powers... Oh, jeez. His powers owing to a lifelong pursuit of alchemy and shamanic. Very interesting. Shaman, you know, he's a shaman, in other words. Wisdom. Delgado has only one useful arm on a mission. His right is encased within a protective shell containing a parasitic flame demon, of which Delgado was able to summon and earn the cooperation after offering his arm as a sacrifice. Accordingly, Delgado favors high-caliber firearms to compensate for his reduced dexterity. His weapons are called Hell's Keeper and Pain. Fascinating, isn't it? We'll go over everyone else. We are also able to possess Ms. Abigail Black, which will let them do this dialogue while I read it. So, anyhow, Lieutenant Abigail Black, the only daughter of an avid outdoorsman and hunter, Alaskan-born Abigail Black, preserved through... Oh, jeez, I gotta take my headset off for a second. I can't concentrate while they're speaking to me. Preserved through a childhood of poverty and abuse, rising to become one of the top marksmen in the U.S. Army. Favoring a custom XM110 sniper rifle in battle, Black's abilities enable her to telekinetically move a range of objects from bullets to boulders, providing a clear line of sight is maintained. As a result, she can steer her pinpoint shots mid-flight, enabling her to strike multiple targets with a single projectile. Her weapon is called Flash Thought. Pretty cool name, but those are the only heroes only members of Jericho that we can use right now, so we'll save the rest for later. So she's basically a Jedi.
Hey, congratulations, Abby. Now you finally know what it's like to have a man inside you.
Aha! Aha! Ha! Aha! Ha! Aha! It's so funny. It's so funny, Delgado. R1 to... press and hold R1 to unleash Delgado's Flame Spirit. That's how it works. Unfortunately, we are unable to shoot while we have but that's okay. It's a trap. That was amazing. Oh boy, but today's Thank God for what? Look at this skeleton. He's having a grand time. Okie dokie. Excuse you. I believe the downside to Delgado's Flame Demon, because it's very powerful, as you can clearly see, is that it does hurt you over time, if I'm not mistaken, the longer it's out. Not like this, unfortunately, but while it's dealing damage to everyone, it does damage him, if I remember correctly. It's been a bit, so...
It's still me, Billy. Do you want to talk to Frank?
I know it's you. Hell, if it wasn't for you and Rawlings, I'd still be back in the asylum.
You don't have to thank me.
I'm not thanking you. That place was hell, but compared to this, shit. At least there I could have ended it whenever I wanted. You got me into this. I'm counting on you to get me out. We clear?
We're clear.
See, this is actually very baffling.
Blood magic you can link to me when you need to. Just don't screw up, or you'll have to deal with Frank.
So, now we can possess Church. Church is my favorite character, actually. Which, we'll get to that in just a moment. Why did I pause? I don't know. Anywho. Back to our handy-dandy, instruction manual. Where are you? Sergeant Wilhelmina Billy Church, Blood Mage. Tennessee-born Billy Church does not believe in firearms, even though the Army requires that she at least carries a machine pistol as her primary weapon and is positively lethal with edged weapons if she can get them close. A traumatic childhood lived as somewhat of a miracle exhibition in her family's religious views sect on Earth. Church's incredible ability to cast powerful sigils, enchantments, and banishments through the ritual of drawing her own blood. Her weapons are Kenju and Nodachi. Kenju is the gun, and Nodachi is the sword. So she's a weeaboo, because she's from Tennessee, so... R1 to perform a Blood Word. Blood Word freezes enemies for a few seconds.
Lord is my shepherd. I shall not
But as I mentioned, she is my favorite character, because, you know, she's a weeb, and I'm kind of a weeb, so... You get it. You get it, don't you? Very interesting. But, oh, I remember what I was going to say. The way that Billy was kind of freaking out, they really kind of, like, imply that this is their first operation by the dialogue, at least. But, that's obviously not the case. Wow, that's weird. Circle is regular melee, and L2 is to swing the sword. That's very weird. But, anyway, the way that the dialogue is there, and how Billy is kind of freaking out, kind of leads us to believe that this is their first mission, which obviously it isn't because of the earlier dialogue. So it's very, very, very confusing. Very, very confusing indeed. Okay, so it just opened up. That's fine. But yes, out of all the characters, Billy is my favorite. Because I think she's cool. She's very cool. Oh yes, I need to read. A road made of petrified human remains leads the team closer to the firstborn. A path of souls stolen by the darkness of the box. The path of souls. Amazing.
Does anyone have any idea where we are?
I think a more appropriate question is when we are.
Captain Ross, if you need to jump to me, you have my permission.
Sure you're okay with that, Cole? It's kind of, invasive.
You're just another network, sir.
So now we can jump to Cole. Cole, as I mentioned, is the nerd of the group. I don't know why I keep pausing. It's not necessary. So back to our handy-dandy instruction booklet. Simone Cole. Being a programmer and obsessive numerologist, not neurologist, that's a completely different thing. Cole's gifts are purely intellect-based. Her harness is occupied by a custom-built computer used to run cabalistics of chaos mathematical sequences that have profound an effect on the physical world by creating anchors to particular points in space-time. Cole is able to download additional supplies, intensify the group's firepower, and slow the passage of time for brief periods. So she's basically Dio. Cole is terribly protective of her equipment, often prioritizing the system's safety above her own, and prefers low-report weaponry that is unlikely to cause interference. Her weapons: the X-86 assault rifle and grenades. Fascinating, truly fascinating. Launch grenades by pulling the L2 button. Throw grenades further by keeping it held down. So that's how Cole works.
Next time you plan a trip to one. Fire in the hole!
Leeches, man.
But yeah, compared to everyone else, Ross was pretty much a normie before he died, you know. Which is very interesting indeed.
Just when I thought this couldn't get any better.
Of course, if it isn't plainly obvious, since we are still technically playing as Ross, I put that in air quotes. We also have the ability to revive anybody, so it's no matter who we're playing as, we can revive anybody, which is fantastic. Very fantastic indeed. Yeah, so that's her Dio time powers. How do I do it again? No, that's not it.
We're clear.
Okay, so yeah, you can also change her grenades to proximity-based and all that jazz, which I never found myself using, honestly. This is actually the first time I've ever seen this menu for her, so we're going to go with Impact, because I believe Impact seems a lot more useful to me. That's just me, of course. Oh, hello. Oh my goodness. Whoops. So, that's awkward.
Where am I?
Go get him. That doesn't sound like something he would say, honestly. Man, the frame rate. This frame rate's so good.
Thank God.
I'm gonna complain about the frame rate a lot, so just fair warning. If that's not your cup of tea, you know, just warning you. Wow, this demon thing, the whatever it's called, pretty much one-shotting everything. We might stick with Frank right now because he's putting some work in.
Do something like this.
Oh boy, here we go. So, I remember this part. Ugh. Oh boy, it's something, all right. So here we have to use Cole's time stop powers. So we can do this. Because back when I was a young babby child and, you know, didn't understand the way the world worked, or actually it wasn't even that, it was just I was young and stupid, so I didn't think of using time stop powers to, you know, blow up the turrets. That's all you gotta do. It's not too bad. Then cutscene time!
Welcome to the Path of Souls. You will contribute your first in time.
Gotta have those lightning fast reflexes, or you die like that. Ooh, this episode I might let some of my German sneak out. I'm actually part German. Fun fact.
Welcome to the Path of Souls.
Just a very small part German.
You will contribute your
Very,
first
very small.
in time.
That was weird. I pressed the triangle button when it told me to press X, and it still took it, so very interesting indeed. I'm saying very interesting a lot. I apologize. And it's very interesting. The body just disappeared.
Your magic inferior. Embrace me as your mistress, or your souls will pave the way for our glorious army.
The firstborn?
I don't think so.
How are these assholes still alive? That was like, what, 70 years ago?
65.
What about the previous squad? How did they close the breach?
We don't know.
Yeah.
They never came back out.
Well, that's just fucking beautiful. Maybe they left us a note.
Delgado, holster your goddamn weapon.
Frank, what's wrong with you?
I didn't sign up for no fucking suicide mission.
If you're gonna point that at me, you better use it.
Nani?
Oh, fuck.
Frank, stop it!
To be fair, with a gun that big, his arm should have just flown off.
Sir, do you think you can resurrect him?
One way to find out.
Sure.
Everybody stand back.
This is meant to be the tutorial, but it's possible to revive everyone before you getting to this point. So there you go, your tutorial that you can revive them.
Jones, I want you to place this man under arrest.
accidentally discharged your weapon.
That was no accident.
Right, Delgado?
Sure. An accident. This isn't over.
Ooh, conflict.
You are outmatched. Relinquish your souls to me, or you will suffer eternal torture.
I think she wants us to surrender.
I love that.
At least she's kept her sense of humor.
Lichthammer, I am Father Paul Rollins of the United States Army Chaplain.
Like, Jones is kind of like super quiet, but he's got that sass to him. I love it.
Let us pass, and we will do what we can to release you and your men from this purgatory.
Arrogant bastard.
Dare to address me? I will tear your manhood from you and feed it to your victuals.
Lichthammer was a powerful psychic in her own right. There's no telling what she's capable of now that she's been assimilated by the Firstborn.
Oh, geez, I forgot. You actually have to fight her. So, in case it wasn't plainly obvious, whoops, we are in World War II times right now, which it should be plainly obvious. It's very weird. The demon's not working on her. Oh god, I forgot he had a secondary weapon. Oh boy. Oh boy. Excuse you. Stop it. Okay, we need this. Okay, so we need to get everyone back up and running.
Rollins is down!
How long was I out?
Oh god, I forgot. That zoom in's very, very extreme. I'm trying to remember how to do the no, that's just because there's a way that you can shoot your bullet and like you can possess it. Oh jeez. So that's what that is. Is there a way to do that with Cole? I think there is. I don't know. We'll get to tutorial stuff when it comes. By the way, the game was controlling that whole sequence right there. Including that shooting. That was very weird. We did it. We beat the video game.
I don't know who those guys are, but they have my thanks. Also, if you need to jump into me, you have my blessing.
Okie dokie, so now we can take control of Father Rawlings. Just configure his pistols. So we've got fragments. Ooh, why would I never not use ooh, and you can switch it too. That's cool. Let's see. We got standard, fragment,
Jones is down!
and we'll do that. Press R1 to charge.
Behold the cross of the Lord.
Okay, that's cool. I remember Rawlings now. Okay, so before we continue, you know what time it is. Handy dandy instruction booklet. Father Paul Rawlings. The oldest active member of the Jericho Squad, Father Paul Rawlings is a veteran of Vietnam and Iraq and wields standard Army Special Forces infantry weapons, augmented by his own personal luck charms and inscriptions. Rawlings' power derives from an intense academic study of magic systems from around the world. particularly in the areas of consecration and exorcism. Consequently, Rawlings is the only team member besides Ross capable of healing wounded teammates, and his guns are Ebony and Ivory, or in this case, Faith and Destiny. Amazing.